Welcome back. You always face the nation. I start off the third round with Mr. Chandra Jayaratne, former chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Jayaratne, I want some clarification to one of the statements that you made in your opening remarks. You said that interested parties are spoiling the good governance race at the moment. I want to ask you, these interested parties are within the government or outside?
Whether they are within or outside doesn't really matter, I think. Give you the best example. If the bond scam was such an issue, all of us had gone to court, some of us had gone to court, we had written, the trade unions had taken. Why did they do the March 2016 on the same way at a much larger one? You think that they would have done it? Knowing that the kind of reactions they are going to, unless they knew that they had cover within the government, within the enforcement authorities, within whatever. I mean, just take them. If you just take the letters that I have done, the actions that have been taken, what Vijay and others, lots of others have done. In the light of it, why was March 2016 done? And even then, we couldn't get a commission. At the second time I wrote for a commission, we couldn't get the commission appointed till very recently. There is some cover. This is not the only one. No. Where there is, whether it's a road contract or whether it is a purchase of vehicles or hiring or leasing of vehicles, all of that requires good governance. Because it's people's money that is being, leave aside corruption. Good governance also says, before you make, it's public money that you are allotting. Before you allot billions of public money for vehicles and improvement of houses of individuals, isn't there people who have suffered by the elements, by the disasters, who need to be looked after?
Mr. Jayaratne, I posed this question to Mr. Tennakoon as well in his opening remarks. You have the Prime Minister who has nearly 4 decades of experience now in Parliament, the longest serving individual in the Sri Lankan Parliament. And this individual has been backing the former governor of the central bank. We saw this even after the President said, I'm going to appoint a new governor, and Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy came into play then. And even then, the former governor of the central bank was attached to most of the work that was carried out by the government, being a part of delegations, being a part of decision making, being a part of committees. Why?
Certainly that decision and that action is totally outside the realms of good governance. That's for sure. There are many more things. We are also finding some people who have been, let us take a very simple thing. We are all wanting investments. We all want growth. We all want employment created. But looks as if the investments that are coming are not real investments. I ask the question, are these investments which are supposed to be coming here a means of money laundering? Because you bring it here, get the project rejected, you take the money back and call it good money. Is this a transaction of...
What perplexes me right now, Mr. Jayaratne, is the fact that you think that there are good people within the government, and with time they become part of this corruption. We saw this happening at the BUI as well. What is the reason behind this?
I go back to the fact that we have got a culture today in which, I'll give you the best example. My first chairman in main board told us one thing in our first training session in London. If you see when I go to a company, if I see a small crack on a window pane, I will pull up and ask for the explanations of the CEO of that company. What does that indicate? If you are willing today to accept a small cracked window, tomorrow you will have a whole window pane cracked. one day without the whole window itself you will accept because your standards keep on reducing because you accept the lower standard as the base. And that is what has happened to our country. And we thought in civil society that 2015 January good governance regime was going to change the way to establish those principles and practices of good governance, make them into structures, processes and procedures with implementation and enforcement with compliance. That's what we look for. Whether it is in rule of law, whether it is in cabinet management, or whether it is in the central bank's monetary management or the economic management, that is what people like Vijay, I and Mr. Tennakon wanted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chandra Jayaratne. So in other words, you are trying to say that before the 8th of January, there was a crack on the wall, and now there is no wall at all. Thank you very much, Mr. Chandra Jayaratne. I now move my attention to Dr. W. Wijewardena, former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Dr. Wijewardena, something interesting happened today at the Bond Commission. I want to get your thoughts on this. Arjun Aloysius had to hand over his communication devices to the CID. Why?
Maybe I think there had been a lot of communications that had gone through from his personal telephones and all that relating to the bond scan being investigated by the commission. So now of course with the new technology available to CID through either University of Moratuwa or University of Colombo, they would be able to recover all the voice messages that had gone through the system. The hard disk of the computers will be completely copied by the CID, and they will look at the type of instructions they have given. So they might form a part of the evidence before the commission now.
Dr. Wijewardena, my question to you is Arjun Aloysius so immature to have something on his hard drive even after something had gone wrong?
Yeah, but of course all the telephone conversations, unless they had used maybe an app like WhatsApp,
or Viber,
it's recorded. No, Viber is still you can recover it. WhatsApp cannot be recovered; it's encrypted. So so it's available with the server. Of course,
so for that you don't have to have go and take the communication devices of the individual concerned, right? You can take it from other means.
No, the most important thing is that what has been saved in those the communication devices could be recovered from the device itself. So this is actually part of the investigation process. So we have to wait until the results come.
Dr. Wijewardena,
can I suggest one thing? Can you show on your lines Wizard of Lies, the film about Bernie Madoff? I suggest that this be followed by, I don't know how many of you have seen that the question you asked was a man who made $50 billion vanish. He still kept all his records in the 17th floor. Please look at Wizard of Lies, which is the story of Bernie Madoff.
Dr. Wijewardena, let's move away from the film to to the real life scenario. One thing what Arjun Aloysius as well as those who are involved allegedly in the bond scam has done is massive investments across the country over the last few years. What can the government do with regard to these investments? Can they pose a question to those who have invested money as to where you got the money from?
Yes.
How can they bring?
No, in fact, if the commission report comes up with that particular conclusion, Samir, it's a matter for the AG department and other law enforcement agencies to follow up. And it's very easy, because if somebody has accumulated wealth without following the proper course of action, the wealth can be confiscated by the government, because it has already happened in the case of many cases in the United States, where people had accumulated wealth, the money was recovered through the legal system.
So it can be done.
It can be done. It can be done, and I mean, the main purpose of appointing the commission by the president is to find evidence for that.
So far as that's a glimmer of hope. The hope, of course, is that even though you can't reverse the bond transaction per se, You can obviously confiscate the assets, take over by the government, and then do justice to the public at home. I now move my attention to Mr. Risripala Thennakoon. Mr. Thennakoon, first question to you by a viewer is, ask Mr. Thennakoon not to be emotional on the show. So let's now talk about the bolts and nuts of the Presidential Commission on the Bond Inquiry. Mr. Thennakoon, you have been closely watching this unravel. You wrote a book. However, no one seemed to have listened to the outcry of individuals like you. My question to you is very simple. Why is the government so silent and not giving an ear to civil rights activists? Because Ms. Jayaratna correctly pointed out 3 letters asking for presidential commissions, and it was done at the 11th hour. Why is the government so ignorant on matters like this?
Yes, I must thank that listener or viewer, for telling me not to be emotional. I am only, my only weakness is when I talk my heart out. Sometimes it appears to be emotional, but not that I am emotional really. But when I am discussing a matter, I really get into the bottom of it, and it becomes a bit more personal. That's all. Anyway, I am sorry about that, impression that I have created. Coming back to this bond issue, I must say that it is not, you asked me the question, why is the government not, or rather disregarding the views of the public? I mean, that is the essence of your question. Now, actually the book I wrote, I emphasize more on the hatching of this game, I should say, the scam, rather than the scam itself. I concentrated in the way with the available evidence, with what was available, the information that was available. The conclusion that we could come to at that time was that this was a big, corrupt game hatched by people in authority in the government. Therefore, those very people will do very little to listen to the people like us commenting about those things. It's as simple as that. We are telling the perpetrators to resolve the issue. That can never happen. That is why, at the very late stage, having watched this happening for some time, having watched the sides, what the perpetrators did, what the people who promoted the perpetrators did, and what the commentators did, the president came into the scene belatedly though, and then he took the right step. Now, what is the step? A commission has been appointed. Mr. Faras is expecting the commission to pass a rule to recover the properties of all these lost things. That can never happen. We will have to go through a long further process, litigation, after the commission makes its recommendations to recover or to even to punish these people. So we have to be very patient in this game. I don't think that if you conclude this commission tomorrow, nothing will happen to perpetual treasuries. No to Aloysius. There will be only a set of papers where there are some recommendations.
That's very hypothetical, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That is the reality. It is not hypothetical. It is the reality.
We don't know what's going to happen in the next few months.
No, we know the commission. We know the limitations of the powers of this commission.
Mr. Thennakoon,
the commission can't impose punishments. That we know.
But the president can direct the Attorney General's department to take action on this.
So
when he finds that something has gone wrong, isn't it?
President can
and
only
then
direct.
You here very clearly said that you have hope and aspirations and trust the president to take action on this.
Definitely.
And now
so.
you're trying to say that
no. I don't change that. Because I still
Seems
hold.
to me that you're contradicting
No,
your views.
it is not a conflict. The president can only direct the Attorney General's department to take legal action.
Of course.
So legal action,
nobody
nobody can say what is the conclusion of the legal action. That is why the prosecutors in the commission are very careful so as to even go into the very minute details of this evidence, like going into the telephone conversations, so that they will have a very fortified case for the future.
Mr. Nakoon, very quickly, a lot of people are looking at the statement that was made by the President at the SLFP meeting recently, stating that give us time until the 31st of December. But I want to look at it in a very positive light. Does that mean that before the 31st of December, when it comes to this Presidential Commission on the bond scam, that some sort of action would be taken by the President to ensure that Sri Lanka, again, is on the track of good governance?
I think the issue of the bond scam will be a turning point in the politics of this country. It has to be, and therefore it's nothing but right for the President to wait until the conclusion is made in an authoritative manner, acceptable manner, not by commentators but by the legal authorities, to conclude what has happened.
So in other words,
that will be a very good juncture for him to take a decision about people, about personalities, about involvements, about exactly what has happened.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nakoon. So in other words, you're trying to say that the President is having something up his sleeves. So let's open the floor for questions. I want to start off the Q&A with Charita, and then move to Faraz, and then Chaturanga. Yes.
Mr. Thennakoon, my question is to you. Now, when Mr. Arjun Mahindan was appointed as the Governor of the Central Bank, he being a foreign citizen, national, it was clear that it amounted to cronyism, right? Something that this government wanted to fix. Why do you think that mistake was done at such an initial stage?
I think that was another very important things that happened in the 100-day government. Now, remember very carefully, when did this happen? This happened before the elections, just after the presidential election, during the 100-day government, which was a consensual government. There was consensus, and that was a parliament which even endorsed the amendment of the constitution. There was unity to that extent in that parliament. But this is one instance where the very action of nominating this foreigner, this person, into this high position, created a complete disarray in that consensual government, and that was deliberately done.
Why do you say that it was deliberately done, Mr.
Because I think the party which was a minority at that time wanted to call it a day, close it as early as possible, and go for an election and get their majority. So they were creating the background for it. The disunity was created by such acts. Look at it very carefully. This is not politics. We want this good government to continue. We don't want it to fall. Our criticism, my criticism, is not to see that this government falls and to bring back a regime which has been ousted by the people in this country. I don't know whether it is emotional, but that is my thought. Now, we don't want that to happen. We want this government to continue in the right direction, with a proper plan, with a proper direction. Our criticism is not leveled against, get out or go, bring somebody else. That is not what we want. But the confusion that the bad governance of this government is creating is bad for itself.
No, but Mr. Thennakoon, the problem right now is the fact that when will we see the end of the tunnel? Will we see it soon enough? Will we see it fast? Or will we have to wait until 3 years from now when there comes an election? What's going to happen?
No, I think there is one hard truth, that is, this government has to go, this parliament has to go on till 2020. That has to happen constitutionally. So whatever happens in between will be some temporary changes for the same group or some group to continue in the government. The best that could happen is, if people are considerate enough to switch sides and then make it a real consensus government. Okay, we have the majority, no doubt, but we have now had 2 years of rulership with all the important positions being held by us. Okay, we give it over to the other party also to continue for 2 years within a program and a direction that is commonly agreed upon. Won't it be a good thing? I mean, that is the only experiment that we can think of, that they should try at this moment. Instead of trying to force or expose or run down another party by one party, why don't they get together, agree on a common program, switch sides and say, okay, you take it over for the sake of the country. This is all what we want is for the sake of the people. We are not worried whether X, Y or Z is there as the Prime Minister. What we want is somebody who can deliver what the people want in this country. That is what we want.
Dr. Wijewardena, Mr. Sripala talked about them getting together and planning and so on in the future. Don't you think that that is what happened with the Bondgate? That they sat down and planned it?
I mean, as it is, yes, you are correct. It's a very meticulous plan, but of course, in every plan, within the plan itself, for us, there are.
What do you think was the Achilles heel of their plan?
No, what happened was that it was too much. I mean, it was so obvious, so too much. I mean, when an unknown primary dealer, whose profit level was around, say, 40 million rupees, immediately it shoots up to, say, 4 billion and then finally to 11-12 billion, the rest of the market gets agitated. It's the other primary dealers who started.
Is agitated a nice word for sort of jealousy?
Not jealousy. In fact, in the case of the market now, you would have seen some of these big primary dealers like Bank of Ceylon primary dealer. It had made, actually its profit levels have been about 100 million rupees, not more than that. Because it's not a big business for anyone to make profits, primary dealing. But when one person has made a huge profit which had been declared, it immediately arouses the suspicion of the other people, and that was the Achilles heel that they had done.
I've been meaning to ask you this question over the last 1.5 years, actually. I haven't quite got round to it. And that is this. You served under Mr. Cabral, and so you must have been around when several bonds were sold and bought and so on and issued. Can you honestly say that nothing of the sort happened during that term?
During that period, of course, what happened was, because I was the chairman of the tender board of the government treasury bonds and treasury bills.
So you were doing what Mr.
Our decision was the final decision. What the governor did was he actually ratified it. He never tried to change the decisions which the tender board had made. So that was the position that we had during that particular period.
When you first got that SMS around the 27th of February,
27th evening.
27th
Evening,
in the
yes,
evening,
around 3 o'clock, yes.
when you got that, did you have any idea at the extent as to how far this tragedy
at
would
that time
travel?
actually what was mentioned in the particular SMS was that 10 billion worth of bonds had been issued. Out of that, 50% had been given to the son-in-law of the governor. That was exactly the content of the SMS. But what happened was, when the further inquiries were made, then only things like the price of the bond, which could have been traded around 121 rupees on that particular day, had been sold at 90 rupees, and immediately after that, that was sold to Bank of Ceylon even before the particular company had got its the bonds delivered to itself. So these things came to light subsequently for us, and when the things started coming to light, then only the extent of the massive fraud that has taken place became clear to us.
Was there a lot of resentment against Arjuna Mahendran at the beginning when he transferred so many people unprecedented amount
there
of
were.
transfers?
In fact, of course, the culture of the central bank is far as sometimes the new governor, when he assumes duties, if he feels that the people who are holding senior positions are not loyal to him, he tries to make a change. So that's a normal thing.
Did Mr. Cabral do that?
When he assumed duties, no. When he assumed duties, no. It was not done
Did
immediately.
Mr. Jawaharlal to do that before him?
No. He also didn't do that. But
And the one before him?
no.
So none of these people did that?
To my knowledge, not immediately after the governor assumed duties, but of course subsequently similar things happened, but on a very minor scale.
So not on this...
Transfer policies in
There's
the
a transfer
bank.
policy. So of course the number of people who have been transferred had been so huge, so it has been actually complete reshuffling of the senior management positions of the central bank.
And do you think much of this was because Mr. Mahendran was perhaps, I don't know, perhaps that he used to drop names?
No,
about his
I
closeness
don't
to
think
the Prime
so,
Minister
Farah,
and so
because I don't think it is linked to the type of the bond scandal that has taken place in the central bank. What I feel is that he suspected most of these officers who had been working in the central bank under Mr. Cabral, they were still loyal to Mr. Cabral. So he wanted to change them from those particular positions. But of course, when he made those transfers, sometimes some of the transfers that he had made had helped him to conduct the type of scandal that we are now talking about.
You know, when Perpetual Treasuries was making so much use, almost misuse of the intraday lending facility, was there nothing that the officers could do other than to just agree with the governor?
I mean, the responsibility there, far as is that the officer can just report it back to the governor. And also, there is another way of reporting it to the Monetary Board, because every 2 weeks the Monetary Board meets and the particular officers can submit a board paper. But of course, what happens far as is that the board papers have to be signed by the head of the department who is in charge of the particular operations, and the deputy governor who is supervising those particular operations. So even if the head of the department has submitted a board paper, very likely it may be the deputy governor who may have rejected it. So as a result, those board papers will not go to the Monetary Board. But it does not mean that the Monetary Board can remain silent or sleepy. Because in terms of the Monetary Law Act, it is the Monetary Board which is responsible for the central bank, not the governor or even the officers of the central bank. So therefore, if there is any failure on the part of the central bank today, for us, the full responsibility has to be taken by the Monetary Board, which had been there at that particular point of time.
Mr. Ratna, would we be able to see the end of the tunnel? Because we saw something very similar taking place in the United States in the year 2009, 16th of October. Raj Rajaratnam, who was a Sri Lankan born American, was arrested by the FBI, and just 2 years later he was found guilty in all 14 counts and was put behind bars for a period of 11 years. Would we see something like this happening in Sri Lanka as well? Something at least similar? Something at least
I would like to ask you, everybody is focusing on the bond scam. It is today very lively.
It's a very hot topic today.
Hot topic.
One gate.
But let us look at, are there similar gates through which public funds are leaking out in the railway tenders? In the tenders for coal purchases, for tenders for road contracts?
We dare say, Mr. Jayaratna, that the level of profits in those things that you're talking about, these other tenders, spread over a long period of time, may be high. But in the case of the bond, this was instant daylight robbery. It's like instant coffee.
Well, instant or not, if public funds which should go for the benefit, your program looking at the villagers' needs, Gammadda, what it has brought out, if we can save this instant one plus what is going for a long periods into the future, our debt, who's going to pay for all this what is wrong? This government is talking about the great debt that the others have created, but let us, at least in good governance, let us be transparent, let us get the, okay, will the government kindly ask the Auditor General to do a value for money audit on these particular transactions?
I want to
The road, rail,
Already.
and the coal, which is power, and if you do those 2 or 3,
Sri Lankan Airlines.
Sri Lankan Airlines is an issue of the past. I'm talking about this government. If we
As far
want,
as what Mr. Jayarotne is trying to say has a point. He's saying that corruption is corruption. You can't justify whether it's a bond scam or it's a railway tenders. At the end of the day, it's the public's money that is being swindled out. Am I right, Mr. Jayarotne?
yeah, I'll give you this very famous thing.
But the Sri Lankan Airlines, part of this problem is in this government. They agreed $96 million at cabinet, and we now find out that the former finance minister, Ravi Karunanayake, was part and parcel of authorizing a payment of $154 million. It is not his dowry that he's giving away our dowry.
I would like to refrain from talking on the particular Sri Lankan Airlines for a reason that I have.
Actually, I was trying to ask Dr. Wijewardene this question. You were in charge of the committee issuing bonds. So you were doing what Mr. Samarasiri is doing now.
Exactly, yes.
So can I ask you this then? Why is it that Mr. Samarasiri is still in place? I'm a little bit puzzled.
Yeah, that's
because
again,
we have Mr. Samankumara who's been interdicted, several rungs below him, and Mr. Samarasiri appears to have made an error of judgment, but a series of errors of judgment is tantamount to wrongdoing. That's the view that we have to take. We see that in the matter of ICTA, ICTA, it is Mr. Samarasiri who has requested ICTA to send a proposal on the national pay platform. And now we find that the company that ICTA puts out forward was full of people connected to Mr. to the MD of that agency. We find the head of that agency, the head of the Apex Technology Agency in this country, is also the founder, chief executive and architect of an American listed technology company seeking for business in Sri Lanka with values, and in their IPO in the US it says that. And then the question is that Mr. Samarasiri is the one who has sent out an invitation for a proposal.
Yeah,
and he's still in place.
Faraz, this is another instance of bad governance within the central bank. Very bad governance.
It can't be one error of judgment is an error error, but
Mr.
several.
Faraz, can I intervene? Mr. Samarasiri apparently remains to be a favored individual, like sometime back how the governor himself was favored.
Or is it the case, Dr. Wijewardene, that Mr. Samarasiri is on his way to becoming what the state witness in the Sathasiva murder case? I've forgotten his name. William, the servant boy.
Yeah, of
No,
course.
there are other places promised to him.
Do you think he's on his way to being the state?
I think, of course, we'll have to wait for the final report of the commission to
We cannot make a
pinpoint
conclusion on
anything
that,
against any
No.
central bank officer.
So
but,
let me ask Chaturanga to pose a question.
Thank you very much.
I want to pose a question to Mr. Jayaratna. I completely agree with the point that you raised, that corruption is corruption all throughout. But there is a common denominator in all of these corrupt activities that you listed out, leaving aside what Faraz mentioned, but everything else that you mentioned, even the bond scam, the common denominator is politics behind it. Mr. Tennakon is not the only person who wrote a book about the bond scam. A member who was later in the COPE committee before that wrote a book on the bond scam.
What's his name?
Situations like that arose throughout,
and information.
Thank you.
We all know. Yes,
Yes.
that's public knowledge. Yes.
What I'm trying to get at is, Mr. Jayaratna, the common denominator here is politics. If you take the corruption out of the system, then you will have to take politics also out of the system. Am I right?
I would totally agree with you. I'll give you 2 examples, right? I'm leaving the bond and all the names and all to go somewhere else with other people. I'll give you 2 examples. One is this rush to get through the foreign exchange bill, management bill. Now, was the foreign exchange management bill meant to do a extremely well planned money laundering exercise? Because today we are finding some of the projects which are being,
Particularly the world's third largest building project.
I'm not talking of that's, I refrain
Yes.
from talking names.
Understood.
But so that is one example of bad governance where the effect could be much worse than what it is. Now this country, if you go to the web and put the word Bitcoin Sri Lanka, you can see that there are banks offering Bitcoin transactions in this country. Now why aren't these being looked at? Money may be draining out through Bitcoins, right? It could also be draining out. We have, as I raised this before, let's address whether there are foreign fund managers operating in this country and still selling investment instruments outside.
And what about, Mr. Jayaratna, what about this Volkswagen plant in Kuliapitia? The land was given and now all the coconut trees are missing. The locals say that they've all been cut down and sold. But where is the FDI? They've sold the coconut trees, for heaven's sake. So what do you think about that then?
To me, that's petty cash ones that you're going back to. My idea is that this country's, I certainly believe this country's economic stability, solvency and monetary stability is endangered through what is happening. What happened before multiplied by what is happening now, and what are the opportunities that are being created and left wide open for it to become into disaster zone.
But Granny,
Nobody is doing anything about it. To me, the bond scam has happened. Let the commission decide. I want the money, whatever you can collect early. That's why I'm pressing for tax. I still will press for tax to be collected. But the level of money laundering that could be going on in this country, which can, stability of this country can be significantly affected.
but Granny said that if you looked after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves.
But unfortunately, the day the Granny said that, and the technology that is available today to bring down a country, for 17 years, Mr. Madoff did things when one fine day, Madoff couldn't do anything and 50 billion went and so many people died.
But actually, in that case, $126 million was put into a Swiss bank, Pictet & C, and the administrators went after that money and recovered it. In the case of another company in Sri Lanka which took deposits illegally, as it turned out, or not authorized by the central bank, the amount is over $250 million and nothing has been done about it, and you, me and everybody else here is paying for it.
Mr. Tennakon, I think Faraz is finally going to let me ask a question from you. Mr. Chanda Jayaratna didn't want to speak names, so we left out Minister Sujiva Senasinghe's book out of it. But you don't have a problem talking about the role he played once he was in the United National Party in the run up to the election, and once he was put inside COPE, that too when a member of the COPE suddenly decided to quit. What my question to you is, Mr. Tennakon, I want to pose the same question I posed to Mr. Jayaratne with regarding the bond scam here in this situation, the bond gate. If you take a look at everything that happened from the 27th of February 2015, then the March bond scam, and up to the Presidential Commission now, politics is right through behind every single step that happened. Now we know a minister is being brought in, people like Minister Sudhir Senasinghe, a role they played, the party as a whole, the United National Party, the President appointing the Presidential Commission. Politics and bond scam goes hand in hand, am I right?
Yes, you are perfectly right. And before I make a comment on that one, I like to add one little thing to what Dr. Wijewardene said about the transfers in the central bank that have taken place. I don't look at them as mere transfers that have taken place in the ordinary course of business in the central bank. Some of the transfers are highly questionable, and I say that those are deliberate placements for the convenience of a later fraud. For example, an unprecedented transfer was made by sending a person from the central bank, an employee, to the NSB fund management to serve as a manager. Now, such things have never happened to my knowledge in the central bank history. And NSB, the National Savings Bank, next to the Provident Fund, is the biggest fund that has the right to invest and buy or sell or do anything, play a bigger role as good as the EPF in the bond game. So, that placement was done. Then there was another placement, I don't call them transfers. A person who was in the EPF department, one Pathumanathan.
Yeah.
I call the names because these are public things. After all, we are members of the public. He was transferred to the front office of the central bank, public debts department. For what purpose? Then this Saman Kumara.
His name was mentioned in your book also.
Yeah, I mentioned all these names. I mentioned the person who went to the NSB, worked out a scholarship for himself, a private scholarship, left the country and went and settled down in UK. Now we have no way of questioning that man. Why he was sent, what he did. Saman Kumara, I mentioned his name in my book. Some people warned me, I said, you are using this name, you will be sued. I said, let him sue me. That is okay for a purpose. And today what is the situation? That Saman Kumara has been made use of because of his involvements in the game for the convenience of the perpetrators of this bond scam. So, these are not mere transfers. These are deliberate placements that they did as part of the plan. And when the Officers Association of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, staff officers, when they complained that these transfers are unorthodox, not in keeping with the practice that was followed in the central bank in terms of the circulars that were in effect, nobody cared for those. They even went to the extent of complaining that to the minister in charge. That minister in charge never took any action. Therefore, I call them deliberate actions as part of the scam.
Coming back to my...
Sadhuranga, we need to close the show. So I'm going for a short commercial break. When we come back, it's the final round. This is Face the Nation. Stay connected. We will be right back.